Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on phytonutrients, flavonoids, the reason that we eat our greens. We're happy today to have Dr. Brandon Lundell join us, and I am Dr. Lynn with NutriWest, and we're going to give you a lot of information today on the importance of flavonoids and how they've been working in functional medicine. So Dr. Lundell, would you like to start us out?
Okay, yes. Welcome everybody.
Muted.
Can you still hear me? Okay, I'm assuming everyone could
Unmuted.
hear me here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, well, welcome everyone to the phytonutrient webinar, and we'll be talking about the benefits, health benefits of all the different phytonutrients that we have available to us and that NutriWest has in their lineup. So we'll just get started with a little bit of background here. What is a phytonutrient? Well, phyto meaning plant, obviously. There's over 25,000 phytochemicals that have been isolated from food so far. The main health-promoting classes of flavonoids or of phytonutrients are flavonoids, which include the catechins like green tea, polyphenols like grapeseed and olive leaf extract, proanthocyanins, grapeseed, resveratrol, quercetin, pomegranate, and such. So flavonoids are a huge class of phytonutrients. Carotenoids like beta-carotene, lutein, lycopene, and glucosinolates, the big one being broccoli seed extract, also known as sulforaphane, found in brassica vegetables like broccoli. So what are phytonutrients and why are they so beneficial to health? Well, the main reason, a main clue is to look at what their function is in plants. So what do they do in plants? They promote cell signals and they're chemical messengers, growth regulators, they protect the genes of the plant, they're antioxidants, natural antibacterial properties, it keeps the plant healthy. UV filtration, that's especially the flavonoids and the carotenoids, so those are natural pigments. They attract pollinators for plants, nitrogen fixation, and energy metabolism. So we can see that they're crucial for plant health. So if we eat the plant, do we get the same benefits? Well, many of the same benefits that they offer plants also they offer the human body as well. So we see that flavonoids are and phytochemicals are cell signals and chemical messengers in humans. They're incorporated into cell structures. So for cellular stability, we know they're anti-aging, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories. One of the amazing things that we'll talk about today is just how these modulate and act as cytokine and immune messengers. So pretty amazing. That's something that comes from a plant that we can't make ourselves are actually crucial to the functioning of our systems. Analgesic, flavonoids in plants are also analgesic. Inhibits coagulation of the blood, promotes vascular function and vascular dilation. Growth regulators, they also protect our own genes, natural antibacterial properties, which we'll talk about today, and also they help with our UV filtration. As we eat the carotenoids and flavonoids and they're incorporated into cell structures, they also provide our own skin with UV protection. So, and it's definitely been shown that people who eat more fruits and vegetables have greater UV protection in their skin, and energy metabolism, obviously. So a couple of studies here, we'll just kind of go through some benefits. The mechanisms of action of flavonoids in the brain, direct versus indirect effects. So what this study is delineating is how flavonoids actually work. So they have direct effects, which means they act directly on tissues, but they also have indirect effects, which is really the blood flow. So flavonoids are phytochemicals found in a variety of fruits and vegetables, have been identified as a group of promising bioactive compounds capable of influencing different aspects of brain function. Basically what we're saying here is not only does it have a direct effect here on neuronal receptors and kinase signaling pathways, which are key to neuronal activation, communication, and synaptic strengthening. So that's a direct effect, but it also has positive effect on peripheral and cerebrovascular blood flow. And when it comes to brain function, blood flow is key. Without blood flow, then the brain and organs can't function properly. So pretty interesting. We just keep finding more and more mechanisms of action that these flavonoids have. By far the greatest biochemical process that one can understand is inflammation. It's the cornerstone of any functional medicine practice is understanding inflammation, and to have a successful practice, you either are directly or indirectly treating inflammation on some level, but in any case you have to treat it successfully. And flavonoids are the cornerstone also of how we treat that. Now, obviously, diet is number one. No one is saying, today that these flavonoids in supplement form can replace a good diet. That's not what we're saying. But the question always is, can we get enough from diet? Can we get enough flavonoids for optimal health? Can we get enough phytonutrients for optimal health based on diet alone? It is my opinion, and those who have been practicing for many years, and those who research and do the studies and see who gets healthy and who doesn't in their practice, it really is, this day and age, nearly impossible to get enough of what we need from foods alone. Now, we can't get it from supplements alone either, so we have to have both diet and supplements, and of course lifestyle and decreased toxic exposure and decreased stress in the life. So those of you who have heard me speak before, I've got my functional medicine three-legged stool treatment paradigm. So you have to have diet, you have to have exercise, you have to have supplementation, you have to have lifestyle changes in there. But I believe, like many others, that we have to get more. The demand is too great. We cannot get enough just from foods alone. The demand on our systems today is too great to get it from food alone. Plus, we are dealing with the growing of foods in mineral-depleted soils, the transportation of foods over long distances, many different aspects there. So we know that depression is also an inflammatory issue and oxidative stress. So we'll talk about how flavonoids are anti-inflammatory. Here, alteration in brain metabolism, and it starts with basically oxidation, also increase in glucose exposure, decreases glucose metabolism. I think it's pretty apparent. Most people understand, most health practitioners anyway, understand, functional medicine practitioners, that in order to preserve brain function, insulin resistance is the #1 cause of that inflammation and neuronal degeneration. And here, I like this slide because it talks about just some of the different pathways that just insulin resistance here talks about. So we ultimately have alpha-beta plaques and toxicity, which lead to neuronal cell death. We have defects in signal transduction, tau hyperphosphorylation, and you get microtubule breakdown. You also have just oxidative stress, which leads to mitochondrial dysfunction, defect in energy metabolism, caspase activation, which is an inflammatory cell signal, also leading to neuronal cell death, and we have the inflammatory cytokines that get triggered. So ultimately, we're trying to decrease the insulin resistance, and I believe after running thousands and thousands of blood tests and seeing and running hemoglobin A1Cs on everybody and fasting blood sugars, that unless you've grown up in a family that didn't eat a bunch of grains and sugars, that most people at this point are insulin resistant. At least 80 to 90% of people that I see, and I'm in Colorado, and we're always rated #1 for health, in the nation. Usually the only biometric they use there is BMI, so we've got a lot of active people here. But even then, and I see it in professional athletes, a lot of professional athletes that I treat are also insulin resistant. So that's something that we want to treat. So treating insulin resistance saves your brain, it saves your body. We want to increase the NRF2 pathways to protect the neurons. That's the anti-inflammatory pathway. And here, polyphenols such as green tea are number one for increasing the NRF2 pathways in the brain. Things like N-acetylcysteine, grapeseed extract, glutathione, curcumin, even calorie restriction is huge. It's a cornerstone of my practice is implementing, making sure that people are not eating too much, and even if it's good food, you could still eat too much of it. Lipoic acid, quercetin, ginkgo, branched chain amino acids, resveratrol, garlic, alicillin, and a big one here, it's bottom of the list, but this is in no particular order. Sulforaphane is huge. Sulforaphane is tremendous for so many anti-inflammatory mechanisms here. And of course, we're all familiar with NF-kappa B and its consequences, which are systemic inflammation and degeneration on every level and every system. So nutrients are one of our most powerful NF-kappa B blocking agents that we have. So phytonutrients, number one. Of course, your antioxidants. This list very similar to the NRF2 list, because NRF2 and NF-kappa B are pretty much they balance each other out. So here we have N-acetylcysteine in hemodialysis. Diabetic patients resets activation of NF-kappa B. Anti-inflammatory effects of resveratrol occur via inhibition of lipopolysaccharide-induced NF-kappa B activation. So we all know lipopolysaccharides come from a dysbiotic gut. They come from gram-negative bacteria. So when we talk about inflammation, we have to talk about the gut and how the gut is promoting inflammation throughout the whole body. Supplementation of broccoli or Bifidobacterium longum fermented broccoli suppresses serum lipid peroxidation, which we know is the precursor to atherosclerosis and plaquing, and osteoclast differentiation in alveolar bone surface. So that's, we know that things like osteoporosis are also an inflammatory condition. So NutriWest has a couple of concentrated, very powerful phytonutrient formulations. Greens Renew and comes in both a powder and chewable, and we see that most of the ingredients here are organic. And we have chlorella and spirulina and spinach and asparagus. Broccoli, we have both the head and the sprouts, which is the sulforaphane. Watercress, all of these promote detoxification, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and they're very convenient. They're very concentrated of the supplements that I've used in my practice over the last 12 years. These are the most concentrated that I've seen. So you get more bang for your buck, and believe me, I've used just about every greens or reds powder that you can find out there, and these are the most powerful that I've seen. And not most of those greens powders in the market, they really don't do what NutriWest does, which is source the organic ingredients. So I really commend them on that. And here's the Phyto Renew. And the nice thing about Phyto Renew, so those of you that have heard me speak, again, we need the phytonutrients, but I've always said this. Most people, when they hear eat your fruits and veggies, they basically just hear eat your fruit, right? So it tastes better and there's sugar in it. And what I tell people is that, fruit should not be a staple of a healthy person's diet. Fruit was never a staple of our ancestors' diet. It was only available in short periods during the year. We were competing with other animals for fruit. When we look at Aboriginal diets or native diets, fruit was never part of a staple in their diets. It was a treat. It was something that was there, you know, in harvest times, and you were lucky to get a little bit. So fruit, because of the sugar in fruit, okay, and of course there's a lot of fructose in fruit, which can lead to dysbiosis. My diet, my anti-inflammatory diet, is very, very little fruit. Doesn't mean that you can't have any, but because of the sugar, you do not want to have fruit. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat with a patient and they've sat down and said, I have a healthy diet. And I look at their food diary, and what do they have in the morning? They have a banana, and they have, you know, a bar, some kind of protein bar, you know, and then at night they've got, you know, a big bowl of raspberries or blueberries. So, and they're expressing, you know, illness, and so we have to have that conversation. I've always wanted to have the good phytonutrients. No one is saying, everyone always says to me, well, doc, aren't fruits, you know, aren't blueberries good for you? Aren't raspberries good for you? All the studies that show that they're good for you. And yes, when you're taking the phytonutrients and you're studying them and seeing what they do in the body, they're very good for you. But if you're eating that much with that much sugar, it is going to eventually have a reverse effect. So I've always wanted to have the best of both worlds. Can we have the phytonutrients without all the sugar? And that's what we've done with the Phyto Renew powder. So you've got pomegranate and blueberry and cherry and elderberry and blackberry and ACI and raspberry. We put arabinogalactan in there for the immune effects as well, bioflavonoids, and we also added concentrated resveratrol, glutathione, grapeseed extract, olive leaf extract, and it's only sweetened with a little bit of Lohan Guo, which is a no-calorie, zero glycemic sweetener, and a little bit of stevia as well. So, and I think there's a little xylitol in there as well. So, but a very small amount just to make it palatable. And I've had people with dysbiosis and SIBO who are very sensitive to even things like xylitol or any sweetener, and they've been able to tolerate this very well. In fact, I use it as a cornerstone for treating SIBO and dysbiosis, both the Greens Renew and the Phyto Renew, because of their antibacterial properties, which I'll get to in a second. So what makes Phyto and Greens Renew so powerful? Whole plant sourced, so you get the whole plant and all the phytochemicals, not just one or two. The organically grown ingredients, minerals, and vitamins are naturally included, and you have the added benefits of, like I said, we added sulforaphane, we add quercetin, we add resveratrol in beneficial amounts. So. Let's go through a couple more benefits. The effects of dietary polyphenols on reproductive health and early development. So it's so important. As one of my passions in my practice and in my teaching is, look, our generations to come are they're, for lack of a better term, they're screwed, and we need to really help our mothers and fathers to be to help them have healthy babies, because it's not happening. And polyphenols, most mothers and fathers don't get enough. So we see evidence from both in vitro experiments and in vivo studies using animals and humans, which demonstrate that polyphenols regulate key targets related to oxidative stress, inflammation, and advanced glycation end products. So we're actually talking about using phytonutrients to treat insulin resistance. It lowers hemoglobin A1C. Although the majority of these studies have been conducted in the context of chronic diseases, several of the key targets influenced by polyphenols are related to obstetrical complications as well. So it's amazing how well that when we study mothers who eat enough polyphenols, they have less complications, they have healthier babies. They're crucial to fertility, sexual development, fetal health, and the bioavailability of other nutrients as well. And that's one thing I didn't mention in the other slide. That's also what we know flavonoids do. They help make other nutrients more bioavailable. And it's not just for mothers, it's for males too. Nutrient supplementation improving male fertility fourfold. Things like carnitine, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, carotenoids, glutathione, N-acetylcysteine, zinc, folate and CoQ10, all have been studied to increase not just sperm counts, but live birth rates, pregnancy rates, and healthy fetal outcomes as well. So interesting about some new science here about taste receptors in the gut, but also in the periphery, especially lungs and nasal associated lymphoid tissue, and even in the brain. So we've recently discovered these taste receptors. They influence cell function on many different ways. We have basically bitter receptors called T2R, and we have sweet receptors T1 and also T3R. So T2 is the bitter, T1 and 3 are the sweet receptors. Now, what do they do in the body? So bitter and sweet taste receptors regulate human upper, in this study, just one study, it regulates upper respiratory innate immunity. So bitter taste receptors here in the human airway detect harmful compounds, including secreted bacterial products. And then activation of these bitter receptors helps, especially by these chemosensory cells, activates a calcium wave that propagates through gap junctions to the surrounding respiratory epithelial cells, which then stimulates a robust secretion of antimicrobial peptides and anti-inflammatory peptides as well, capable of killing a variety of respiratory pathogens. Keep in mind this is in the gut as well. This study just focused on the respiratory aspect. So what we're saying is not only do eating sweets and eating things that that taste sweet activate the sweet receptors, but it also feeds bad bacteria as well, and it decreases the body's innate immunity. So we leave ourselves open to infections and dysbiosis and respiratory problems. Furthermore, sweet receptor activation represses so even if you're eating your bitters and phytonutrients, which activate the bitter receptors, then even if you're eating then the sugar, then you're actually counteracting that. So we found that patients with chronic rhinosinusitis have elevated glucose concentrations in their nasal secretions. So, the more, and my cornerstone when patients come in with any kind of respiratory or even urinary tract kind of thing, then the first thing we've got to do is remove all sugars and all sweets from the diet, and then add in some of these antimicrobials, polyphenols. So pretty amazing discoveries. And again, keep in mind this is the same thing that's happening in the gut. So what we see here is if there is an infection or an overgrowth of bad bacteria, we're supposed to self-regulate. The microorganisms themselves secrete bitter microbial products which activate our T2R receptors. But if there's sugar present, okay, then it actually suppresses that. But if there isn't sugar present and we support this T2R with polyphenols, then we can actually increase the AMPs and the bacterial killing properties. So pretty amazing, which really goes along with why we see that people who eat a lot of vegetables and eat a whole plant-based diet are just healthier overall. But it's nice to know some of the different mechanisms. Increased sugar and decreased bitters contributes to the dysbiosis of gut and respiratory tissues. So you have decreased defensin and other antimicrobial proteins, increased local cytokines causing the inflammation, inhibiting detection of pathogens by our own innate cells, constricting bronchioles and arterioles as well, so you get decreased blood flow and immunity. And also there are some genetic variants. Some people express more bitter receptors, and therefore they may actually benefit more, even though they are likely to dislike bitter foods the most. We call those people the super tasters. Those are the people that they make actually good chefs because they taste the bitterness, and when other people might not, and so they tend to make food taste good by removing the bitters. Although they don't make good healthy chefs necessarily, but they are the super tasters. So here's just another depiction of how the bitter receptors here activate calcium channels and open up cellular respiration here and open up the lungs. So pretty amazing. Staying on the gut theme, pomegranate is prebiotics. So pomegranate, I can't say that, the tannins, allogotannins, stimulate growth of gut bacteria in vitro, implications for prebiotic and metabolic effects. So some new research showing that pomegranate increase the mean counts of bifidobacter just by giving, not giving probiotics, but just by giving these prebiotics, increases the count of bifidobacter and lactobacillus and significantly inhibited the growth of some of these gram-negatives that we don't want, B. fragilis, Clostridia, Enterobacteriaceae in a dose-response manner. So the more you get, the better your gut flora responds. So again, the concept that polyphenols, such as those in pomegranate, impact gut microbiota populations really establish a very new and beneficial role for polyphenols in human health. So again, in PhytoRenew, we've got pomegranate as the first ingredient there. So you're getting a lot of concentrated pomegranate nutrition. Of course, we all know pomegranate's been studied in Ayurvedic medicine for hundreds, thousands of years. It's used for cardiovascular health. It's used for as an antioxidant. So it's one that we wanted to have in there first. Again, it's gluten and dairy free, low sugar, high prebiotics. We also added the grapeseed, resveratrol, and quercetin for the gut, lung, and cardiovascular repair. Phytonutrients to increase the antioxidant capacity. We also added the olive leaf extract in there, which is in the chewable, which is extremely powerful. Now, pound for pound, just to let you know, the phyto chewables are more concentrated, so you're actually going to get more nutrients in the phyto chewable, but because they're so concentrated, some people don't want to eat that, and some people just like a powder form. So the powder form, actually, we added more prebiotics and fiber, so it's easier to mix. But just so people know, 2 tablets of the PhytoRenew chewable is actually, I think, equal to maybe about a tablespoon of the PhytoRenew powder. So that's if you want to dose it that way. And we also have glutathione in there. And yes, it does get absorbed orally. I've talked about this, enhanced glutathione levels in the blood and buccal cells by oral glutathione supplementation. We've thought for years that glutathione, if you took it orally, it was wasted. And actually what we've realized is not only is it not wasted, but it's absolutely crucial to do some glutathione orally in glutathione form, in reduced glutathione form, because the enterocytes have such a great demand. And sometimes, yes, we want things like N-acetylcysteine and cordyceps and milk thistle that will increase systemic glutathione levels dramatically, but we can't forget that having some glutathione in the gut mucosa is extremely beneficial for repairing the gut lining, for decreasing dysbiosis, treating SIBO, and any gastrointestinal complaints. So previous animal studies showed that orally administered glutathione is bioavailable and will enhance tissue glutathione levels. And again, I always use the oral glutathione with LV Renew and NAC. So we have the milk thistle, 80% silymarin, which is a very high concentration of the phytonutrient in milk thistle, which is silymarin. Cordyceps, and the cordyceptic acid is also a phytonutrient that has been shown to be the most beneficial for increasing ATP, increasing glutathione levels throughout the body. We also added the green tea extract, N-acetylcysteine, dandelion, and burdock root. So LV Renew I take every day. Methyl Renew, it's something that I don't skip at all, and neither do my patients. We also added arabinogalactans. Arabinogalactans increases short-chain fatty acid production, so that's good for cellular health in the gut. It's a prebiotic, so it supports healthy bacteria, decreases intestinal ammonia, which aids in detoxification, and again, rabinogalactan has been shown to help with dysbiosis and SIBO, repairs leaky gut, restores gut mucosal immunity, and increases natural killer cells in the gut and in our innate immunity as well. Influence of prebiotics on the human immune system, which is basically our gut-associated lymphoid tissue in the gut. So we all know that prebiotics have great potential in our practices, and we should all be using them not just in the diet, but also as a supplement form as well. Large rabinogalactan effects on reducing incidence of upper respiratory infections. So just having large rabinogalactan decrease the incidence of the common cold. The number of participants affected by a cold was significantly reduced. The present study demonstrated, I don't know where the reduced went there, was significantly reduced. The present study demonstrated that large rabinogalactan increased the body's potential to defend against common cold infections as well as other infections as well. And lastly here, talk about some other important phytonutrients, DIM, diindolylmethane, which is also from cruciferous vegetables. We have olive leaf extract in DIM Renew, green tea extract, calcium glucarate, lecithin to help absorption of the phytonutrients, and broccoli seed extract. One of the things you want to watch with broccoli sprouts or broccoli seed extract is the concentration of sulforaphane. If other supplements don't give you the concentration of sulforaphane, it usually has very little sulforaphane in it. Sulforaphane is the active component in broccoli seed or broccoli sprouts. And so 4% sulforaphane is actually one of the highest concentrations you can get in supplement form. So all of the broccoli seed extract, or when it says broccoli sprouts, we try to put the percentage of sulforaphane. So I know in DIM Renew and in the greens Renew and in the methyl Renew, the broccoli seed extract that we use is 4% sulforaphane. So it's a high concentration of sulforaphane, and for bang for your buck, you're getting a lot. There's other supplement companies that have, for instance, capsules or tablets that are just sulforaphane, and it's ridiculously expensive. It's prohibitively expensive in some cases. So you're getting almost as much in just one tablet of DIM or one tablet of Greens Renew chewables than you are in some of those other formulations, and NutriWest has done a good job at keeping it affordable. So again, I commend them on that. Grapeseed extract, also the grapeseed extract that NutriWest uses is 95% proanthocyanin. So the active component in grapeseed, if you see something that just says grapeseed extract, you're probably not getting a high amount of the active proanthocyanins, but the NutriWest has a high amount of that proanthocyanin. So, and then mangosteen, which is a high percent of xanthones, and apigenin. Now, all of these are designed to do a couple things. They're aromatase inhibitors, and they also modulate estrogen receptor activity and also detoxification, phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification and conjugation of our hormones. So DIM Renew, I have both male and females on DIM Renew, excellent for breast health, excellent for prostate health, and hormonal health as well. Aromatase inhibition synergy, we see green tea, apigenin, mangosteen, grapeseed extract. These were all studied to be the most powerful I think they tested 20 or 30 different phytochemicals, and the green tea, apigenin, everything that's in the DIM Renew. That's why how we formulated the DIM Renew is some of these studies kept showing that these were the highest activity levels of aromatase inhibition. So mangosteen also has a favorable effect on NRF2, as we talked about before, so it is good for the brain, very anti-inflammatory. Mangosteen xanthones experience enhanced absorption during an inflammatory episode, meaning that the body, when the body's inflamed, it's going to want more of these mangosteen xanthones. So Pretty amazing. And then apigenin was one of the most potent aromatase inhibitors tested, and it increases cytochrome 19, cytochrome P450 19 is the one that specifically helps with aromatase inhibition and conjugation of estrogen metabolites and progesterone metabolites. So it's pretty amazing. And grapeseed is one of my favorites as well. It's an aromatase inhibitor, and it decreases aromatase expression. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. She's got some more excellent slides, excellent studies, and some more information on how to use these phytonutrients in your practice. For me, I just gave a couple of quick ideas. I add Phyto Renew and Greens Renew powders to my protein shake. NutriWest has my post-recovery workout. Again, I treat a lot of athletes, professional athletes, amateur athletes. I'm an athlete myself. I do a lot of competitions, and one of the things I discovered that's helped the most is after a really hard workout. You don't necessarily want to do this after every workout because we actually want some of the inflammatory chemicals running around to stimulate our defense mechanisms and our growth and mitochondria. But after a really hard workout, a lot of damage gets done, and it's usually more damage than the body can handle. So I have a post-workout, and sometimes if I have a long day ahead of me, I'll have this in the morning as well. Again, it's not something you need to do every day, but a couple of times a week is excellent. And I have the complete whey protein in there. I've got the Greens Renew and the Phyto Renew. It's an excellent post-recovery workout. And I know personally, when I have a very hard workout, which I do during training, and professional athletes do this too. You really only want to do a super hard workout once or twice a week, maybe 3 times if you're getting close to a competition. And the problem with that is how you recover. So sometimes if you have a hard workout the next day or 2 days later, you're not going to feel as refreshed and ready to give it another hard workout. So when I've started using my nutrient shake, the Complete Whey G and the phytonutrients, Phyto Renew and the Greens Renew, when I do that immediately, within 15 minutes after a workout, when I have my athletes do that, the next day we're ready to go again. It really is phenomenal how much it increases recovery. Of course, we know the whey protein increases glutathione levels, and the LV Renew and the Methyl Renew increases that as well. But it is, I have firsthand experience. Not only do my patients feel it, but I feel it as well. I also have the Phyto Renew and Greens Renew chewables out in my, next to my desk when I'm working, and a lot of my patients ask, well, what can I do for snacks? And what I do for snacks is Phyto Renew. I just take 1 or 2 Phyto Renew and Greens Renew with some nuts or with some protein, and that's my snack. Lynn, I think you hit the unmute. I can hear you. Okay, I think she muted it. Okay. I also eat them by themselves when traveling. So I travel a lot and I work out a lot. So sometimes I'll just have it when I'm on my bike. I'll have a handful of some nuts and some Greens Renew and some Phyto Renew. I use it on the bike a lot. And when I travel, just to get that anti-inflammatory, I mean, there's really nothing that I can think of more inflammatory than traveling these days. Not only is it stressful, but you're sucking in toxic fumes, and you're dealing with a lot of people who are sick around you. So I use them as part of my travel protocol as well. And I actually have a couple of patients who use the Greens Renew. A lot of people like the taste of the Greens Renew chewable. It's got like a really nice minty taste to it. That's kind of a favorite for a lot of my patients, and they use that for their children as kind of bribes, okay, you can have a couple of Greens Renew chewables if you do this for me, and so the kids really seem to like that. So so that's kind of what I have. Thank you for paying attention today, and hopefully this has given you some good information and some ways of helping your patients and yourself in different ways. And I am going to turn it over to Lynn now. Lynn, do you want to come on? I'll put you as a presenter here.
Yes, I am unmuted now, and I just
All
need
right.
to be the presenter.
All right. I think, let's see. Let's see. That's not what we want.
It's just the blue change presenter at the top.
There you go. I think you're it.
There we go.
All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was very fascinating. Thank you, Brandon. There are a lot of pathways that are involved with these flavonoids for sure. And I think that Dr. Lundell did an excellent job of sharing with you how he has used them in his practice, how phytonutrients and flavonoids are used in functional medicine. And so I just want to kind of briefly go over a few more points that I had to blend in with that. So let's take a look, first of all, at a cause for chronic inflammation, and that would be when the naive T cells are funneled over to Th17 rather than the regulatory T cells. And this of course causes a chronic inflammatory state. And I wanted to let everyone know that if they are more interested in the nuts and bolts of immunology and the Th17, the regulatory T cells, all of the players of the immune system, that we will be doing an immunition seminar on July 9th. That would be my husband, Professor Don Belgrau, the immunologist, and myself doing immunition. And hopefully all of you can check the NutriWest website for our other seminars this year. And the NutriWest website is also going to be very helpful for you if you want to listen to any other webinars. Dr. Lundell and other NutriWest speakers have quite a repertoire of webinars built up on our website, and all you need to access it is your username and password. If you do not have an account, just notify your NutriWest distributor and they can give you a distributor code to access the website. It does take us approximately a week to get this webinar taped and up on the website. So if you missed part of it, if you came in late, or if you'd like to listen to it again, no problem. There will be a copy of it posted on the website. We get asked quite frequently if there are any notes, and unfortunately there are not. Our PowerPoints are copyrighted. They are in the webinar itself, but there are no separate printed notes. So we hope that you enjoy listening to the webinar again when you access the website. All right, I wanted to point out an article that I came across that I thought was fascinating, and it goes over a lot of the dysfunction that comes out of inflammation that Dr. Lundell was talking about. But one of the interesting things about this article, and this was an article from 2015 on the gut microbiota brain axis, and in that article, they reviewed a lot of correlations. And at the end of the article, their conclusion was that there were two things that they recommended as being the most powerful to fight inflammation. And one of them was fecal microbiota transplantation. And the second one was flavonoids, especially quercetin. Now, you'll probably remember that the quercetin was in both the Greens Renew and the Phyto Renew products, both the chewable and the powders. And I don't know about you, but I would prefer to bypass the first suggestion and go with the second suggestion of the flavonoids, because as Dr. Lundell was mentioning, I find it very easy to do both the Phyto Renew and the Greens Renew every day with the assurance that I'm getting these phytochemicals in that are just going to be functional for so many things. It's just so wide range that I wouldn't even venture to list everything that it's going to help. Um, we have inflammation, as again, as Dr. Lundell pointed out, suspected in many disorders and dysfunctions. This is the article that I'm going to spend a little bit more time on than just showing you one little abstract, because I thought it was so great. It's got good graphics in it. It has a good rundown of the whole connection between the gut and the microbiota with the brain axis, sorry, and it goes over that connection, which is, of course, bidirectional. And this is the article that I mentioned that at the end they come to the conclusion that they're recommending fecal transplant of microbiota and also flavonoids. So if anybody would like this article, all you have to do is email me. I would be happy to share it with you. I think it's a great article, and I'm going to show you some of the excerpts from it. Many of you already have my email address, but if you need it, it is drtooey@NutraWest.net, and that is doctor not spelled out. It's just Dr. My last name, Toohey, T as in toy, Oohey, at NutraWest, N-U-T-R-I hyphen W-E-S-T.net. So just check that out. If you don't remember the email address, just contact your distributor or call the NutraWest number on your catalog, which is 800-443-3333, and they will direct you to a distributor. Okay, so let's look at some of the features of this one article. Again, it was very interesting. It goes over how the bidirectional relationship between the gut microbiota specifically and the brain in this axis is going to be involved in either being instigatory in causing inflammation, or if we have the right balance, very influential in creating a homeostasis of a non-inflammatory environment. Now, this again is included in the article, and I don't have time within the scope of this webinar to go over all of the scientific pathways that are covered in this scientific article. I would recommend for those of you who would like further information to again check out the website for the seminar dates of this year. In the next 2 months, I'll be going over all this information March 19th and 20th in Seattle, Washington, and also April 2nd in Kansas. And that's just in the next 2 months. Again, check the website if you'd like to see where else we're lecturing with the immunology lecture. And this is a big part of it, because this whole gut microbiota axis is so crucially important to everything that's going on. And again, I picked this article because after they explain everything, their top recommendation is flavonoids and transplantation, which again, I'm all for just supplementing with flavonoids myself. So I decided to put a flavonoid challenge out there. I talked to a lot of people and some of our distributors daily, and I said, you know, I've been researching flavonoids. I kind of challenge you to come up with something if you're wanting to ask a question about an optimal health condition, then I'm going to research it in the context of what flavonoids do. And so far, I haven't been stumped as far as finding something in the science, in the research, that associates whatever it is that we're looking for when it concerns, a dysfunction or something that isn't optimal health, bringing things back into homeostasis. I've been challenged to find anything that is not associated with the flavonoids being helpful. There are neuroimmune connections. There are many findings about associations, and again, this article is just fascinating because it includes the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, all of the neuropeptides that are made in the gut that do communicate with the brain, and everything that the brain is producing that in turn communicates with the gut. So again, great lecture, but not time to go into the details of that. The one of the greatest quotes, I think, from this article was that we need to take appropriate measures early in life, and corrective measures that include, again, their recommendation for microbiota transplantation, or something a lot more accessible, which would be flavonoids, and especially quercetin. So these are just some abstracts that pretty much reiterate the fact that flavonoids are really great support for just about anything that you have in mind that you would be searching. And Dr. Lundell has already gone over NF-kappa B, a lot the free radical formation, the oxidation, everything that the flavonoids are good for. This is a particular abstract on resveratrol, grapeseed extract, quercetin, et cetera, again, to show you what kind of an important role it plays in a lot of these certain scenarios. This is the ACI and immunity. This is adipose tissue inflammation. And again, the NF-kappa beta pathway. Flavonoids and heart health. It could be that the flavonoids that are consumed by the French could explain the French paradox. I think we've all known that for a while. If we want to tweak for inflammation, what do we do for support? Well, there's a lot of things we can do for support. Eating your greens is one of them. And a lot of the greens that you see here, the broccoli sprouts, the spinach, the watercress, the parsley, the carotenoids in carrots, we've got broccoli and beets. All of these things are going to be good for us, and as Dr. Lundell mentioned, they're not going to have the sugar that the fruits do. So these are basically pictures of the Greens Renew, and in just a minute I'll show you the Phyto Renew nutrients and pictures of them, which we get without the sugar. So here's Greens Renew powder and Greens Renew chewable. It's virtually a kitchen sink of, if you just want to take some of the most famous healthy antioxidant greens out there, and then you've got your beta-carotene rich carrot, your red beetroot with your methylglycine in it that raises glutathione, all of those rich, very colorful antioxidants, and they're compressed into a pill for the chewable and as a powder that you can use in a shake. Now, I get asked a lot, well, what about Total Green? Total Green is wonderful. It's a product that is a whey powder with some greens in it. The difference in the products, this has different greens, and it also has more greens. This is not a protein powder, it is a green powder, and the serving of a teaspoon has over 2,000 milligrams of all of these things in it, so pretty powerful. And here we have Greens Renew powder and Greens Renew chewable. So both forms are really good. Phyto Renew also comes, as you know, in the powder and the chewable. These are all the things, we've already been over that. Dr. Lundell pointed them out. These are pictures of some of the things that he mentioned. Here's pomegranate over here, raspberry, blackberry, blueberry, ACI, just a ton of stuff. A lot of research
on the individual ingredients, some of which you've already seen, is available by asking your NutriWest distributor if you can have the newest flyers that have come out. Now, one of the most recent flyers is Fido the Flu. Excuse me. Fido the Flu with Fido Renew. And this works well as far as being support for other viruses as well. But we know that these phytochemicals can help build immune defenses. And so what better way to, build our defenses than using flavonoids? So this is the first page of the handout. This is the second page that shows you now in a convenient powder and a chewable tablet, gives you some of the research and your connecting information. Again, that is a new flyer that's available from your distributor. This is another one. This is Fido Power for the Immune System. We have another informational flyer called Immunition Power, the Big Guns. And we have the first one here being Glycan Renew, which is mushroom glycans, very powerful for building Th1. And on the second page, we see that Fido Renew is also going to be one of the immunition big guns. LV Renew down here, LV stands for liver support, and that's one of the immune big guns. As we go to page 3, we find Greens Renew. So both Greens Renew and Fido Renew are amongst the top products that we have when we recommend what you do for immunition power. Again, this is part of the science that would be included in one of my lectures, but we don't have time in the scope of the webinar to go over this. I just wanted to point out that we do have neuroimmune activation by blood, that we have to think about all of the things that are produced in the blood, and a lot of them are produced by the gut microbiota, by the way. Look at the whole list of all these neurotransmitters and neuropeptides and hormones. All of these things, it's just really immense. And we have to think about the fact that beyond the vagal pathway, beyond any other communication system, that these things travel in the blood and that they can cross the blood-brain barrier and affect the central nervous system. So it's just something to keep in mind as we read that one article that I pointed out previously on the gut microbiota brain axis. Mast cells are becoming a very important thing. It's a new finding. They've been around for a while. It's just that people are starting to focus on mast cells a little more and figuring out how important they are, because they are one of the things that communicate in the axis and one of the things that contribute to an inflammatory state. So one of the new findings about mast cells is that they have the ability to extracellularly secrete mitochondrial components, including DNA, that have inflammatory actions. And they actually have autoimmune actions as well, because these components are then misconstrued by the body as innate pathogens, and they go after them in an attack. So this, again, is, if you'd like more information, is included in the article that I mentioned earlier on the gut microbiota axis. I found it very fascinating. Here is another article flyer that is going to be available to you. I can't even tell you that this is hot off the press because it hasn't been printed yet. As a matter of fact, this was so recently written that I just got this today. I mean, the way that it was put together in the flyer with, some neat pictures and graphics, but it was very recently written. So if you're requesting this one, you might want to wait just a couple of days till this one comes down the pike. But this is a very good flyer, Fight Inflammation with Flavonoids, and it makes a good patient fact sheet in addition to the Greens Renew fact sheet. We have fact sheets for all of the Renew products, like you know, the Phyto Renew Chewable, the Phyto Renew Powder, the Greens Renew Chewable, the Greens Renew Powder. But this is like a patient fact sheet that kind of drives home a specific feature about that product. And this one in particular is flavonoids and inflammation, and kind of getting across to your patients that they might not be getting enough of these flavonoids, and that if they do, they can go a very long way for fighting the imbalance in homeostasis that they may very well be experiencing because they're not getting enough greens. So that again was the first page. This is the second page. I'm not going to go over it in detail because you can get this, as I mentioned, in a few days as a flyer. It shows you how an easy way to get greens on the go. Now, the other reason I like this flyer is because sometimes patients need a little bit of the tips and suggestions on how to actually work this into your everyday schedule. You can make a shake. You can go to the website and get shake ideas. You can go to the fact sheets and get shake ideas. You can they will dissolve very easily in water, simply in filtered water. And I think they taste great in water, but you know, some people like to put them in almond or cashew milk. You can mash an avocado and mix it in there. You can put it in hummus, in quinoa salad. It's perfect for toddlers because if you're going to give them a little bit of organic applesauce, for instance, they're going to gobble it up because you're going to, you know, they'll probably like the taste even better once you get done mixing either Phyto Renew powder or Greens Renew powder into it. And of course, there's some suggestions if you're not avoiding dairy here for both organic yogurt and organic cottage cheese. But you get the idea. Greens Renew and Phyto Renew, for that matter, are very, very versatile. And this is the last page of the flyer. So again, I have, you know, several other slides that I'm not going to go into because it's time to kind of wrap up for today. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, and for those of you who did not hear or weren't tuned in when I was mentioning that we will have this posted in about a week on the website, that the webinar is taped. It takes about a week, but it will show up on the NutriWest website, and again, just contact your NutriWest distributor for information. My email again, if you want to grab that pen and did not catch it the first time, or maybe you want it now because you'd like a copy of that inflammation article that I was going over, the email is drtoohey@nutriwest.net. D as in David, R, T as in toy, O, H-E-Y, at N as in Nancy, W as in, N as in Nancy, U-T-R-I hyphen WEST.net. So Dr. Toohey@nutriwest.net. And thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a chance to listen to some of our upcoming live seminars. And don't forget to catch Dr. Brandon Lundell on October 1st of this year in Denver, when he will be going over case studies. This was a very, very popular seminar that we had last year, and we're repeating it with, you know, it'll be a bridal bouquet, you know, something old, something new. He's going to add some case studies to that and boost it up a little bit. It was one of the most popular seminars that we did, and I have to tell you, it was just fascinating because you really get in there with the nitty-gritty. You know, it's like, show us this blood test, what was going on here, what do those values mean when they went up or they went down, what happened when you gave them a nutritional protocol, looking at the results, seeing the before and after. It's really, really great stuff. So thanks again, folks, and we'll be sending out a notice, of course, when we will be having another webinar. As my friend used to say, you'll be the second to know. So thanks again. Take care, and we'll see you next time.